Yeah, I think it started recording. So we are going to discuss today on the Linux commands. Maybe I'll close this one.
Tish, I have one question.
Yep.
So
Go ahead.
every time we should switch on like AWS. We should log in every time.
Yeah. So I generally terminate the instance so that we are not charged.
Okay.
So that's why.
So if we will not terminate the instances, it will charge.
Yes. One machine it is free. One machine it is free. But
Okay.
if you are launching multiple, then it is actually a problem.
Okay. The thing is, I'm not logging to AWS and I'm doing I mean, I'm just adding the IP address and I'm doing daily. So is it okay?
That's fine. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we are just logged into the box. Let me also open one more session. Uh, so I am opening two sessions now. Yeah, I just logged into two instances of same machine. Okay, so like you guys are using two Git bashes, two different Git bashes. So we are going to discuss today on the few bash scripting. So after that, we'll also discuss the cron as well, how we are going to do the cron. So I'm just opening my GitHub here. We already have everything here. If you go to DevOps references, so we find the corresponding folders based on the topics. I'm going into the bash. So what is bash? So have you ever written any bash programming? Like very simple, not basic one. Okay, so no.
Okay,
So yeah,
a very small one.
okay, no problem. So yeah, that is fine. So you guys may see my screen, right? I'm just zooming in so that okay. So now we have been executing commands, right? So one after one, which is perfect. But what if you want to do more commands? Let's suppose I wanted to verify the memory of a machine. If memory of that machine is consumed a lot and there are no much of free memory, then I want to trigger an email to the team. So it's a simple logic. So what we need to do? So we need to first verify the memory, free memory in the machine. So what is the command we use? We use free minus h command, which will give the memory information, right? And after that, so we need to use some awk or cut commands to get the desired value that we are looking for. And after that, we need to drop an email. So it's all step-by-step instructions, right? And also there is a condition. So condition means if memory is utilized more than 80%. So condition. So how we verify that condition? So if you put all this together in step-by-step instructions, it becomes a script. So if you are writing everything in a shell, so you can call it as a shell script or the bash script. So you can also do the same thing with multiple languages, namely Python, Java, or anything. But getting into those two languages, it's a bit tough now. So we'll just cover the bash here. Okay. So I'm just creating a new folder here called scripts. I'm going inside the script. I have no files here. I will also change the directory here to the scripts. So pwd scripts here. Okay. So now let me write my first script. So let me install the vim, sorry. Sudo yum install minus y vim. So minus y is a confirmation. It doesn't ask for the yes or no again. So while it installs, I'll show you some of the shell scripts here. So this is called the variable.sh. So it is going to tell you how we are going to use the variables, and we have some conditions, and then we have some loops, and then arrays, and then how we are going to use the functions, arguments, and there are some scripts that we can write based on few logics. Okay, so let's first discuss about the variables. So how are we going to use the variables and what is a variable? So we all know variables, right? So I'm sure you would have known. So variable is just like you just take a name and you store some value in it, and you can use the same value anytime in your program. Okay, that's what the variable is. So now I'm going to create my first script. I would say var.sh. So you can give extension or not, but giving is a good. Okay, now I'm going to insert more. I'm writing my first. So this is called the shebang. So we need to first mention where is our interpreter is. So based on this interpreter, the whatever the following commands you write, they will be considered as bash or shell, whatever you want to write over there. You can also write the shell here. Okay. Now I'm going to write my first command. So we know the echo command, right? So if you do echo command and then say hello world here, it is going to print out the output, right? The same I am going to write here, hello world. Okay. And then I'm saving it. Okay. Saving it and coming out. Now let me run this. How am I going to run? I use shell because it's a shell script, shell var.sh. This is printed because this has a command called echo, right? So we can also execute it with ./sh as well. Sorry, ./var.sh followed by the file name. The reason behind why we use ./ here is, so / will say that execute from this current directory, and this is the file. It is giving the error because we don't have the permissions, execute permissions. Now let me add the execute permission to the user. It's going to be chmod. So it got the same thing. So we did not mention the shell here. It means, so whatever interpreter we are using here, so this will be considered. So okay, this file is a shell file. So then it will go to shell interpreter and execute all these commands. So if I put Python here, what happens? It doesn't work because there is no echo in the Python. Okay. So now we have this. Now let me also write the variables. So now I'm going to take one single variable called a. Okay. Now I'm going to assign equal 10. A equals to 10. I'm also taking another variable b equals to 20. Okay. Now I wanted to print it. So how I can print? Echo. Okay. The value of a is. So what is the value of a is? We need to put a, comma. The value of b is b. Okay. So now what's happening here is, so we know this word. So now whatever value you are giving at the right side will be stored in the left side variable, which is a. Now a is equal 10, b equal 20. The value of a, the variable a is a. And the same way, the value of variable b, right? So this will be printed. And here a means what? 10, right? So it should print 10 here and it should print 20 here technically. But let's see what it prints now. Okay. I'm saving it here. And then, so in this here, I'm executing that so that we can see both together. So the command is sh var.sh. See what it printed? It printed hello world, and after that the value of variable a is a. It should print a, right? The value of this, but not, because whatever you put inside this quotation becomes a string. Everything is like a string and nothing else. So if this is not a regular character or a word, rather it holds some significance because a is a variable here. So if you want to give that significance to this string or character here, then we need to put a dollar symbol, $a. Now you see the color getting changed, and we have $b here. Okay, now let me save this, and then if I run it, See, now it printed 10, 20, but here before it was AB, because that this dollar value is adding significance. So this is not just like a regular string now, rather it contains some value. This becomes a command technically. So now let me do the same again. So now you clear, right, what we are doing here? So now let me do the same again, but rather with the double quotes. Let me add the single quote here. See, let me add the single quote. Double quotes, single quote. Now I'm saving this file and then let me run it. What happened? When you have double quote, it printed the value. But when you have single quote, it did not do anything. It just printed the $A as a word. That is the significant difference between the double quotes and the single quotes. So double quotes will allow to use the system commands and this variables and all, but single quote will consider it as a complete text. Okay, that's what it is. So now let me also do some more here. Echo, sorry, maybe I will take the number variable. Number is equal to 10. So here you see I'm giving some space here. Okay, now let's print what happens. Echo, the number is, we know $num, right? So I'm deleting all this because we don't need I don't want to confuse you guys. So now we're just taking one variable, num is equal to 10, and this is the value, right? Now let me print it. What it is giving? It's giving some error because the bash is particular about the spaces. Okay, doesn't like the spaces before and after the equals operator. That is the reason why it was giving the error. So make sure that whenever you see that command not found something, so the space here. I'm saving the file and then run here. See, now it came properly. That's about the space and all. Now let me check some more variables here. Yeah, you can also assign the variable like this. So now I have a variable a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20, c is equal to a plus b. This is right. So I should have 30 output here when I print it, right? So echo the value of c is $C. Now let's see what happens. I saved it. Let me execute this. Nope, the value of c is still a plus b because this is a, it become a regular string. It's not a, it doesn't hold a significance. To add the significance, now I am going to put the dollar symbol in front of this. So let's see if it adds or not, because we know the bash, it doesn't do well here as well. It's again said that 10 plus 2. So it converted a to the value of 10 and plus 20 and then printed as a 10 plus 2 becomes a string. But technically the plus is an arithmetic operator. So where whenever it sees two numbers and the add symbol, it should add and then assign that value to C, right? But it is not happening. Why? Because it becomes like a plain string again. So how I can avoid that? So again, we need to use, there are some other ways. So let me do this way. Now D is equal to, I'm using this quote. This you would see this in the escape character. Let's do this one. Now I'm adding the variable we call expressions. That is a command. So what expression we're adding? A plus B. Let's see what it prints. Do we need to still over there give the value? The value of D is, so $D. Save. I just saved the file. Nope. It did something because when I do like this, it is considering as a string and printing as it is. But when I do like this, it is doing something. It printed nothing here, right? So still I need to add the dollar symbol over there because it is just not like a regular thing. It is a variable. You see, now we got 30. That is how the addition works in a bash. Okay, so we can also directly do the numbering as well here. So I can add the 1 and the 2 here, 3, because you are using the characters, right? The string variable. That's why it was not taking as a regular number. So we had to put the dollar symbol to assign the values first. So that's how you do the addition. We can also do the additions in this way as well. There is one more way of doing it. E is equal to, so like this, A plus B. I saved it, clear the screen. See, it did print again. The value of E is also showing 30, because even it will also work to sum the two variables. So those are the variables. So there are some more variables that you can also know. So like this. Yeah, so there are additions, subtractions, multiplications, like you can also do all the arithmetic operations. Okay, as the modulus. So you guys know modulus, right? So when you divide one number with another number, so whatever remainder comes, that will print as a modulus. And the operators here. So we also have this var1 plus plus. This will also do the increments here. So if you want to add more, let's suppose now I have, I'm just removing this one. So let's suppose I have a number. Maybe I would say the counter is equal to 1. Okay, now I wanted to add one number to this counter. I would say let counter plus equals 1. And then now let me print the counter. The new counter is now dollar counter. Now let me clear this and then run the file. See, so it will also counted one number. So if you want to count by 10, it's like counter is equal to counter plus 1. So if you want to 10, it's nothing but equal to like this. So counter is equal to counter plus 10. So counter initially is 1. So 1 plus 10 becomes 11. 11 will be assigned to the counter variable. The same is written, should be written like this in a bash. What? Yeah. Oh, sorry. So 11. So that's about the counter. And then we also have, yeah, so now we have seen this value, right? So how I can assign a command output to a variable. So now we know the command, right? So what is the command? So we know the free command. So you can also add a comment here. So command says that executing free command here. So it's like a command line. So it doesn't do anything, just like a note you are adding. So the command is going to be free minus h. Now I save this and then run it. So it is printing me the output, the memory output, right? But I don't want this. I just want this total. So I'm going to say free minus h. So I need to do the head minus 2 and then tail minus 1, right? I save this file and then run it. See, I'm just getting only now one line. So I need to awk the second one. Awk print dollar 2. I just got the 815 memory. So now I got the total memory. Now I want to also get the how much used. So I need to copy the command as it is and then paste it here. It is 3. I saved it. Now let me run this. See, now I'm getting this and this, but it doesn't make any sense to me, right? What is these values are here? So I need to add some string. So here, now I am going to store. So whatever output is coming inside a variable, that variable is going to be, I would say, total underscore memory, okay, equals, and this is entire command, right? So now we need to put this entire in a backquotes like this, or you can also use this symbol. This is what we recommend. So you put the dollar and then put an entire command in a half symbol, half brackets. So whatever this command gives the output now will be stored inside this variable, total memory. Okay. So now let me do the same thing for this as well. Total memory, and this is the, oh, sorry. Yeah, and this is the used memory. This memory is equal to dollar symbol and this guy. Okay, I saved it. Now let me run it. Okay, it gave me nothing. Expected, because we are storing the output inside a variable. It's stored, but did we print? No, right? Now let me print this. Now I can make my own statement. Okay, the total memory is. So what it is, I need to use dollar symbol total memory, and the same used memory is. So you can also give here used underscore memory. Save this file and then execute. See, the total memory is 815. The used memory is 153. See, we know this command. So we know the command, how to get the value of the memory. And then we just use a small bash script to make it as a program. It's like a script now. So we know how to use the variables. We know how to execute the commands. Now we know how to assign a command's output to a variable, and then how we are going to use that variable to print whatever with information we need it. Clear? This is all about the variables. Okay. Now let's go jump onto some other thing. Let's jump onto the conditions. Okay. So what are the conditions? How are we going to use the conditions? Okay. So now I'm just saving this and coming out so that we can write a new file. So it's going to be a condition if.sh. So we know conditions, right? So like we put conditions to our spouse, like don't drink, don't go outside, don't buy jewelry. So similarly, the conditions like this here. So every condition has one result, either it's true or false. If it is true, you want to get some work done. If it is false, you want to get some other work done. That's all about the conditions here. Okay. So now let's write a simple condition here. So first we need to use the interpreter here, right? I'm using interpreter. We can. So I would say I will also do a clear command here so that when you run the output, everything will be gone. Okay, clear. And then I need to first write my if condition. So I'm going to say a is equal to 10. Okay, and the first if condition I'm writing here, if, okay, two square brackets, give a space, $a, because it's a value of a, right? So here in the if conditions, so we have a equal, not equals, greater than equal to, less than or equal to, right? So here we use hyphen eq, that is called the equals. Okay, so if it is equal to 10, close bracket, and then give a semicolon, and then you need to write a then. This is a statement. I mean, this is a line how you use the if condition. You hit the enter, so automatically the indentation started. So you have the 4 spaces. It thinks has 6 spaces in indentation. so that you can have a clean code. So now I need to write. So I would say, so the A is equal to 10. So I'm done with the condition phi. I'm closing my if block. So if, and then if you reverse it phi, it closes. So I save this now. Now let me run it here. Okay. So sh if dot sh. So it got cleared because I'm using this clear function, right? So then it started the printing. So the A is equal to 10. So which is correct. So now let me do A as 11. I save this and let's see what happens. Did it print anything? No, because our condition says A is equal to 11 is a variable which we have taken, of course, and if A, so is 11 equal to 10? No, right? So since the condition is not passed, it directly jumped to the phi. So after phi, whatever you write here, that will be executed. If I say echo the end of program, I save this and then run it here. See the end of program. This is how the conditions work. So you may be having some more options, right? If not, do this. If do this, if not, do this, right? So that is called if else. So if it rains, I don't go outside. So like that. So now I'm going to add the if else block as well here. So I'm deleting this line because we don't need it now. So there is a command called input. So input or raw, I think it's raw. Oh, sorry, it's a bash, right? Read, yeah. So read is a command that will help you take the instructions from the command line. So when you run the program, right, it will wait for your input. That's called the read does here. Okay, so I'm going to assign whatever we enter to a variable. Okay, I would say value is equal to dollar symbol read. Okay, I'm saying so close, and I'm just printing the value here. The given value is dollar value. I save this and then run this. So it is just prompting, right? It is not giving me something. So I don't know whether my script is working properly or not, right? So that's why I'm going to add the message here. So what the message is, I didn't store the value. One second. Oh, sorry. I used incorrectly. This is how you use it. So read value. So read whatever you read it will be assigned to a value here. So if I do 10, see it's printing 10. So now if you want to do some message like what actually you're asking for, then you can also pass the parameter called -p with a message. What is the message is please enter a number. Okay, so I'm just adding -p parameter to this, and this is the message. So this message will be printed, and then whatever you give will be stored into a variable called value. Now let's see. So it's asking for a number now. Please enter a number. So it makes sense now. I give 10, it is printing it. Okay, so this one is working fine. So now let's make some positive, negative, the basic arithmetic operations. Okay, I'm writing if conditions here. Okay, if dollar value, okay, so is greater than equal to, or maybe let's say greater than. If it is greater than 10, then okay, I'm printing echo the given number is, maybe let me use greater than 1, sorry, greater than 0. The given number is a positive number. So now there is an option of negative as well, right? So how am I going to write the else block? So this is called else block. Else echo the given number is a negative number, and I'm closing my if block. So what's happening here is, so you enter a value which will be stored inside a variable called value. We are verifying if the value is greater than 0, then it is a positive number. If not, then by default it is a negative number, right? So if you don't have a plus symbol in front of a number, it means what? Negative we are understanding here. So let's see. I'm saving it and then running the file here. So please enter a number. I would say 10. So 10 is a positive number, of course, yes. Now let me do a negative testing. I would say minus 10. So minus 10 is a negative number, which is perfect. So now let me do another test. 0. 0 is what? Is negative? No, right? 0 has a value. So why it is not working here? Because we just have only two conditions here. The first condition says that if a number is greater than 0, then it is a positive. Apart from that, whatever condition is, then this guy becomes true if the condition fails. So when I enter 10, this guy become true, so it printed. The else part did not work because either one works in this, either if or else, right? But when I enter negative number, so which is minus 10, so value greater than is equal to 0? No, because negative numbers are less than 0. So that's why this guy printed, which is correct. So when I enter 0, so what condition? 0 greater than 0? No, because 0 is equal to 0. This condition becomes false. The moment condition becomes false, this else part got executed irrespective of anything. So our code has some bugs here, right? That is how the tester do. So they don't they just make developers work hell, like by doing all their testings and all. So it's a good point. They raise a case. So now we need to fix that. So how do we need to fix? So we need to consider the 0 as well, because 0 is invented by our Aryabhata. So let's do. Now we have value greater than 0. Okay. And here I'm going to add one more condition. Exactly same as it is, but I will do the one more nested if. So same thing. So rather than here elif, so I'm adding another if condition here. That is called the elif. Okay. So same dollar value.
Sir, I'll just be back in a minute.
Sure. Is less than 0. Then. Okay. Then I'm going to print this. So now else part. The given number is a 0. So now what's happening? The difference between this block and this block is, so we have added one more elif here, which is a nested if. So I'm just first verifying, is this greater than 0? Then do this. If it is less than 0, then do this. So if it is not a greater than 0 and not a less than 0, then what? It is a 0, because we just have only 3 possible options, right? So let's see. Now I will save this. So now we have 2 if blocks here, this and this. Now let me execute. I'm entering 0 here. So the first if block given me this, which is not working, and the second block gave me the perfect value, which is a 0, right? So now my code is working fine. So I'll remove this guy because it's a bug. Done.
I
I
have a
now,
question.
yeah.
Here you have written for greater than GT and less than LT. We can use symbols.
Yes, you can also use the symbols.
Okay.
Yeah, you can also use symbols. Symbols mostly works here as well. We can also do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have this, right? So now we have this if conditions also working. So there are some if conditions. So if you have two values you want to verify, like you have two conditions. Like I want between this, or I want both conditions to be satisfied, then only perform this. In that case, we are going to use logical ands and logical ors. So logical. So let's talk about this example. I'll just run it by so that you guys can practice it. So what I'm doing here, I'm asking them to enter the variable here, right? And then once you enter the variable, it will be stored in a age. I'm verifying, is it less than 0? If yes, then I'm exiting. Exit means I don't want to print it, right? And after that, maybe let me execute this. It will. I'm just coming out of this guy, and then if one dot sh. So what I'm doing here, so we are using -e with echo here. So what this guy is doing is, it is like give you the additional thing, like it's going to print a new line. So we have new line here, right? And then we are taking the age. So age less than 0, then print this, because if you don't have a age, then you don't exist, right? That's why I'm giving the command called exit. This will just break your complete shell block, shell script, and come out of the shell script. And then I'm using if here. If age is greater than equal to 60, you are a senior citizen. Greater than equal to 40, then you are take care of some health. 25 to 40, time to get married. 19, you are young. If it is less than 19 and greater than 12, so here I am using both conditions. So elif age less than or equal to 19 but greater than 12, it means the between 12 and 19, so he is a teenager. If it is less than 12, you are a kid. Okay, if all the conditions are not satisfied, then as a final option, I'm saying something has gone wrong. Let's suppose this guy has entered some string parameter. So string is not compared with the numbers, right? That's why the else part will may execute. This is how the works. So if you observe carefully, I have been teaching you guys using this two square brackets, right? But here I used a single square bracket as well. And also I used here small half as well. So the if conditions can work like this also. The two square brackets or two half brackets, or you can also use single one. But I would highly recommend that you always use this two square brackets. This is what you mostly see in all the shell script outside in the market or in the GitHub. Okay, so this is a nested if else. You guys can practice this. So once you execute, yeah.
Is there any like special condition that we use? Like you told us to use double square bracket, but is there any condition like if there is only one statement, use a single one or something like that?
Yeah, so if you use a single and the half, right, the variables that you use may not work properly. So if you so when you put two half brackets, right, did I use dollar symbol here? No. So but technically, so if you want to give some significance to this variable, you always have to have a dollar. Then you will come to know it's a variable. So this will perfectly work only if you use the two square brackets.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'm saving this if condition as well, so you guys can copy and run and test it. Now let's check another conditions if we have. Yeah, so it is like a typical some test. So what we are doing here, right? So we are trying to create the file. Okay, so let's suppose you have some scenario in a company where you wanted to create a file. So if the file is there, then you don't want to do anything. If the file is not there, then you want to create the file. Okay, it's a condition. So what I'm going to do, so I will write one more if block here. Oh, sorry, if 2.sh. Okay, so the first condition is going to be bin sh. I will also do the clear so that we'll have a clear output here. So now I wanted to verify if the file exists. So we know the path. Let's assume we are looking in a directory called /tmp. Okay, so the if has some conditions here. So let me give you if yeah, bash cheat sheet. Yeah, so there are some cheat sheets for the bash. Yeah, so here the conditions also have some significance here. So if you use -z parameter, it will verify whether this string, the variable, is empty. Okay, so minus n will tell you if it is not empty. The equals, we know, this is not equal to, this is also equal, not equal, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay, and this is regular expressions. This generally we don't much use. This is numeric. So when you want to do the numeric, then you need to use this. Okay, and then also we have this on the file. So if you want to do something on the file, then you can do minus e. Minus e means exist, if the file exists or not. So in that case, we use the minus e parameter. So minus r means if the file is readable, does it has a read permissions or not? The symlink, if it's a directory or not? Is the file writable? Is the file size is more than 0? So these are all the options that you can also use with the if condition. Okay, so now let me use one of these to verify if the file exists or not. The if condition, okay, minus e is an option to verify the file. I'm going to give the file path abc.txt and then close it. Then, so right, so minus e means exists, so file exists. So I am just printing saying that the file exists. Okay, if not, if the file is not exist, then I'm going to say something. Sorry, I didn't close the curly commas. The file doesn't exist. So creating one. So what is the command to create a file? Who wants to tell?
Touch.
Good. So touch, where we are creating /tmp/abc.txt. Okay. Now see, I save this file. Now let me run it. Sh if2.sh. See, the file doesn't exist, so creating one. It created. So you want to verify? Let's verify. ls-latr/tmp. Hope you know the command. So the /tmp, it has a file. Okay, now file is there. Now let me rerun it. What happens? So it said the file exists. So this is the way you can also use the special permissions. So now why we use the variables here? When you see, I'm using variable here and also using variable. I mean the same here, right? 2 times. I repeat it. So rather than that, we use a variable here with the call file name is equal to. We can also give this file. Wait. Yeah. So we use this. So here I'm going to use the dollar file name.
Minus e is equal to, is it?
No, minus e is I have shown here, right? So minus e is file
Okay,
conditions.
fine. Okay.
It verify whether file exists or not.
Exit. Okay.
I'll give this one as well, so you guys can verify that one. I saved it. Now let's run it. See, perfectly working fine. This is how why we use the variables. Okay, so now that condition is done. So you can also do the same thing. So I have added some more logical here. So this may look very big. So you can, let's understand what we are doing here. So what we are doing here, so check if file exists. So I'm actually running a command and then getting the output of that. Okay, so maybe I will run it here. So if 3.sh, right? So the same condition. So whatever we have just with minus e, right? So now we are doing the same with more. Okay, so I'm using this bash here. So first I need to verify file exists or not. The command to do that, ls/tmp/abc.txt. If the file exists, I get this output, right? If the file doesn't exist, I'm getting some error message. right? So let me do another command here. So ls minus latr, I'm using pipe wc. So wc is word count. It is going to count the number of words in a particular file. So since I'm using the pipe symbol here, the output will become an input to this command. So it says 111. It is giving one file, how much data it has. So if I use minus L parameter, this will give you number of lines in that file. It says 1. If the file exists, I'm getting 1. So if file doesn't exist, which is ABC1, I get what? 0, right? This is standard output, which is coming. Okay, here I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing ls, I'm gripping for that file and then counting it here, because I want to avoid this error message as well. Okay, so ls grep minus I want to look for abc.txt file. This dot becomes significance here. I'll show you that. wc minus L. It says 0, but we do have file. But file is actually in a /tmp, right? Not here. We got 1. So if I do file that doesn't exist, it gives me 0. So now I avoided this error. I'm just getting only output 1 or 0. If file exists, I get 1. If file doesn't exist, I get 0. So based on that, I'm writing my own logic. Okay, so here I would say file underscore status is equal to dollar symbol. So I need to check the file /tmp pipe grep minus I. So what is the file name I'm looking for? abc.txt wc minus L. So we can also parameterize this. Whenever I execute, I always check this file, right? But if you want to make my program more robust, we can also variabilize that. So how I can variabilize? I'm going to say file underscore name. So we know read, right? So read, let me first clear the screen. Read minus P, enter the file name. Okay. And I'm storing it inside a file underscore name variable. So here I'm just saying file name. I'm not hard coding the file name now. So whatever you pass as a file name, I'll verify inside the /tmp. Okay. So I got this file status. I'm verifying my conditions here. If file status, okay, equals to 0, it means file doesn't exist, right? Then the file doesn't exist. You can create later. So else, just using just only echo the file exists, and then fee. I'm saving it. So let me now run this. It is called if3. if3.sh. So enter the file name. I would say abc.txt. The file exists. I run it again with some different name. Doesn't exist. So now I just parameterized this one. So now my script can work for multiple purpose because now I'm using variables here. This is how we use the variables to make a program work in all the scenarios. But if I use the file name directly, the entire script will only work for single file, right? So now by using the variable, I made to file work on multiple files. So this is how we can also use the if condition, but it's lengthy, right? So by this lengthy one, it just solved by just using this minus e parameter. So that's why we use this here. So make our code look less. So we used the same thing here as well. So you can also look. Okay, so what I am doing here. So when you understand what each and every line, you'll come to know what's happening here. Okay, so that's about the if conditions. There are some other if conditions also we can use. That is called the case switch. So switch case, we call it in a Java, or I think in C I used this switch case. C, I don't remember. So this is the switch case. So what happening here is, so I'm asking for a whale season name. So the spring summer, fall, autumn, or winter. Okay, here I'm using a case. So case is like, maybe let me open with the app. So I have app here, right? Start drawing. So here we use if conditions, right? So if, else, and if, sorry, elif, and then elif, and then elif, and then we have else, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 conditions, 4 conditions, and there's a default one. So if, let's assume, so each and every condition is taking 1 second. It doesn't take, but let's assume. So if this condition is getting true, actually, it has to verify this condition false, this condition false, this condition false, this condition. So you are traveling through all the conditions. So this condition becoming true, it means it is spending 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 3 seconds, and 4 seconds. To make this if condition work, so your program is spending 4 seconds of time. So which is not expected, right? So if you talk about some Amazon, if you search for something, you expect the results immediately. If it delays it, if it takes at least 1 minute, what happens? They lose the customers, right? So that's why your program has to be very efficient and effective. So for that, in Bash, so we also have a case. So what this case does is, so we have a case here, and these are all the possible values here, and I'm passing the variable. So if, let's suppose this condition, so in the switch case, it is not going to travel each and every condition. Let's suppose if this condition becoming true, it directly jumps and do from here, whatever coding is you have written. So it is not verifying these 2 conditions. So you are spending less time here. That is the reason why we use the switch cases. Okay. So switch case is not exist in all the programming languages, especially Python, we don't have this. So, but Bash we have, I think in C also we have, I believe, maybe in Java too. So let's check how we can write the if condition, the case conditions here. Okay, it's very simple. So
Okay.
now, hello?
Yeah, like I think we do have a switch case in Java.
Java, right? Yeah.
Why they say don't use switch case until unless you have to?
Yeah. It has all the drawbacks and the benefits, because every conditions, if we have too many conditions, right, it has to travel through, spend some time, and when you are doing some conditions, so that does on the memory, they may consume so much of memory allocations as well.
Yeah, when I was like doing advanced Java and Java,
Mhm.
our professor told us like until and unless you have to, if there is no other scenario, don't use switch case. I don't know
Yeah.
why he did that.
Yeah, there could be reason, right? So the processing time, it's spending, and everything is matters over there, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I never
So
figured out because it has some advantage, maybe not many, but
yeah. So I'm using the /bin/sh, and then I'm clearing the screen, read -p, enter a value. I just say a number. I'm just writing a simple one. So case, and the value I'm passing here. Okay. Let me just check. It's been a while. Yeah, in, and then you are going to write the first case. So if it is a 10, comma, then you are going to do something, echo, this is 10, and then you need to come out. Let's call the break. If you don't mention that, then the code starts running from there, all the lines. That is the reason we use a break over there. We have a break here as well, right? Okay, so now let me write one more condition. If it is a 20, echo, this is 20, and then I'm breaking it. So by default, so if none of the case matches, then I'm going to use a default one. Okay, this is
I have
default.
a question.
So you're
Right?
breaking it, right? So this is 10 and this is 20. You can use the same line. I have to use in the next line only. That breaking it.
I don't know. It's for the programming to look good. We always you break them in a bottom. So let's see what happens here. I didn't touch that. So we can do that. So now we have done with all the default scenarios, right? So now we need to close this. So again, the reverse case, ESAC. Yeah, it's ESAC. So case and the ESAC. So let's do that. Now let me write here. So sh if 4.sh. So enter value. I said 10. So yeah, it's working. So now if I do 20, 20. If I do 30, it's a default because it's not matching any of the cases, right? So that's what the case. We can also use it as a if conditions, but don't use the switch cases. Mostly try to use the if conditions and try to use the conditions as less as possible where needed. And then yeah, and this is a inline conditions. So inline conditions means you may see in the most of the typical the pro coders. So they don't like to write the big if conditions to perform the small. So the same one. So what I'm going to do, I'm just writing this. So what they are doing, dollar bracket bracket, we know that. So when you mention that, the values whatever you mention inside has some significance. Okay, so this a variable is greater than b. If it is greater than b, this is a question mark, this becomes a condition. So if a is greater than b, then this block gets executed. If not, then this block. It's simple like a if else statement in one line. This is called inline conditions. Okay, so now let me say a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20. I'm saving this. So let me delete this guy. We have seen this, right? I saved it. Now let me run this. sh if 4.sh, see it's 20. Bigger number is 20. So now if I say a as 30, bigger number is 30. So if I make both numbers same, it doesn't work because they are equal, right? But we don't have another condition. So this inline condition only helps you to work if else. If this condition becomes true, do this. If this condition becomes true, do this. That's called the simple inline conditions. It's only you use when you have to verify some certain values. So that's about the if conditions. And then we also have loops. So loops means, so we know the loops, right? Like you do the same task continuously until you get what you wanted to do. Let's suppose I wanted to print from 1 to 10. So how do I simply do? So you can also do this statement. So loop dot sh. So I say echo 1, echo 2, echo 3, echo 4. So until so and so blah 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 blah. Then we need to write until 100. I save this. Now let me run this. So it's printing. So but what you're doing it actually here. So we are doing the same iterations like 100 times. The line becomes 100 lines of code, right? But you can also simply write a small while loop here to do the task in a small less lines. So for that, I'm going to use while. Okay, same, we need to use a condition here. The condition is going to be what? So I'm going to first take a variable. So the variable name is going to be number. Okay, so number is 10. I want to print the 10 lines. Okay, I'm conditioning here. Dollar number, okay, is less than or equal to 10. Okay, sorry, I'm taking 1 here, less than or equal to 10. Then print. So I'm printing the number. So what is the number? Dollar number. Okay, now I need to increase the number value, otherwise the loop will not break, right? So I'm going to increase let number plus equal to 1. Okay, my bad, this is not the then, it's a do, while do done. So if then else, while do done. So what I'm doing here is while, which is a condition, loop condition. This is a condition says dollar number less than or equal to 10. So first we have the number as a 1. So 1 less than or equal to 10. Yes, of course. Then it becomes true. And then it is printing the number, right? So it prints the number 1. And then I'm increasing the number by 1. Now the number is equal to number plus 1. Number is currently having value as 1. Now it becomes 2. 2 less than or again it is done. Again it goes up to the condition. Now number becomes 2. 2 less than or equal to 10. True. Then do that and increase the number. Now number becomes 3. Done. Again it goes up to the condition. Now 3 less than or equal to 10. True. The same loop happens until the number becomes 9. Okay, so now number is 9. So 9 is equal to 9 plus 1, which is 10. Done. I go to condition. So now 10 less than or equal to 10. Yes, it conditions. Now 10 is equal to 10 plus 1 becomes 11. Again goes back to condition. Is 11 less than or equal to 10? No, the condition fails here. Then the loop condition breaks. The loop breaks and then you come out of the loop. Now let's see in action. So I'm just, see, this is my first lines and then I'm printing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I repeated some certain task 10 times. So in typical scenario, if we talk about a company scenario, so let's suppose we have to start a task at around 7 or 7 o'clock and then run for 1 hour. So if you receive a file between that time, then process it. This is what a task. So now I wanted to run my job at 7 o'clock, loop for the file. Once the file is arrived, then process it. So once the file is arrived, I want to come out of the condition. So you can also use the exit statement over there, or you can set the condition as a false, right? That purpose we use the while conditions here. Now by the what happens if you don't increase the counter here? So let me comment this. So this is not getting executed. So what happens now? Number is equal to 1. 1 less than or equal to 10. Perfect. This prints. Done. It again goes up. 1 less than or equal to 10. Yes. So the 1 is constant and this condition always becomes true. So you don't have a proper exit condition. There is a reason this goes infinite loop. Now you want to see, let's run it. What? Oh, I didn't save it. See, it's going infinite loop. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's not stopping. I need to control C that. So you have to be very careful when writing the loops. So the main thing that you need to focus is when to exit out of the loop. That is the main thing. Okay. So here the dollar number 10 less than or equal to 10 and then the condition. That's about the while loops. Okay. So now let me also do a basic stuff with the while. So let's suppose we didn't see this echo, right? So now I'm writing something. Hello space hello world. I'm saving this. So if I run this, it is giving hello world, 2 different lines. But I wanted to print this adjacent to this, then I need to use a -e. Let me see, it's minus E and minus N. Now, no, sorry. Yeah. Now see what happens. It printed in single line. So minus N means at the end, don't give the new line. So whenever the echo statement completes, right, it hits the enter, so that whatever you are going to do will happen next line. But this minus N prevents that. It's not a new line. Try to do in a same thing. Okay, that's what the minus N is doing. So the word is printed immediately after that. That is the significance of minus N. So using that one, I'm going to write a simple while condition to make the triangles. Okay, so let me do A is equal to, let me take the read minus P, enter the number. So read that in a variable called, you can say I, simple. Okay, now I need to do while we need to increase the count, right? Okay, so I'm taking a variable, sorry, I take this number and then I'm taking a variable called I is equal to 1. I'm saying while $I is less than or equal to $number, then, sorry, do echo dollar. I'm using minus N here, $I space. I need to counter it. So let I is equal to +1. Done. Enter for number. I say 100. Less than or equal to. What? See, I did a mistake. It is plus equal to, right? Or equal to plus.
Plus equal to.
Yeah, see, now I'm printing 100. So whatever I wanted to print, I can print here in one like this. Okay, so this is how you can programize that. So now I'm going to show you how we can use the multiple loops, like nested loops. So loop within a loop. So I'm just opening this one. Leave. So now we know that. So I wanted to perform a task. Like let's suppose talk about gym. Okay, so we definitely have gone to gym, right? At least once in a life. So we know dumbbells, right? So we take the dumbbells and lift it. So the trainer says that, so you need to do 20 iterations. Sorry, 20 iterations 3 times. Like you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 20, then you give a break. And then second iteration, you do 20, they give break. And third iteration, you go 20 and then done, right? So you are doing 20 iterations 3 times. You are doing loop, 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 right? So now the first iteration, second iteration, third iteration. Itself, it is a loop here, right? 1, 2, 3. You are doing 3 times. And then every time you are doing 20 times. So you are doing multiple loops now. Now this becomes an outer loop and this becomes inner loop. Clear, getting my point? So in a gym, you have to, let's suppose you have to perform 10 times. So 10 times, each time you need to do 10 iterations. it means 100, right? So you have to repeat 10 times, and then each time you need to repeat 10 times. That's what the loop within a loop here is. The same logic we apply and print here. Okay, now let's do the same logic here. Yeah, so let me do the loop 1. 10 minutes. So /bin/sh. So first I need to clear this. So now let me take a number, read minus p, enter the number, take the number. Okay, now I am taking I as a 1. So first my condition while, okay, $I less than or equal to $number. Do. So my loop started. Okay, so echo iteration in iteration $I, sorry, let I plus equal to 1, then done. This is our sample program that we have seen, right? So let me execute this first and then write the nested loop. So let me clear this sh loop1.sh. So it printed 10, right? So now I wanted to do each and every iteration. I want to do 10 cycles. Okay, so again I am going to use one more if while here I'm setting j is equal to 1. Okay, while bracket. So now I'm comparing $j is less than or equal to $number. Do. Okay, now the condition is the step, right? I'm just printing the number. Okay, so I would probably use echo minus n here. Okay, and then printing the numbers. So $j, and I need to increase the counter j plus equals to 1. So I'm done here. So observe carefully. So now we have a while and then while. So while within a while. So when you have this, this becomes outer while. This is the inner loop, outer loop, inner loop. So the inner loop called every time, each time for one instance of outer loop. So one iteration when the I is 1, then this while loop becomes first j is equal to 0, j is equal to 1. So 1 less than or equal to number 10, we pass 10. Then it prints this. Then j increasing, done. So this done has a while condition coming from here. So this while goes to this condition again, j verified. So like this loop runs 10 times. So after 10, so now j becomes 11. 11 less than or equal to 10? No. This while condition breaks, then comes out. Then outside we have what? Let I plus equal to 1. Now I becomes 2. Done. So it goes to the condition again. Now 2 less than or equal to 10? Of course, yes. Then entered. Now the iteration number 2. Again we are setting j is equal to 1. So we are resetting. So like when you do dumbbells 10 times, in a second iteration, again you start from 1, right? Not from 11. That's why I'm setting j is 1. Now j 1 less than or equal to 10. Yes. Again print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Then come out and then go to the I becomes 3. 10 times I becomes 4. 10 times I becomes 5. 10 times. This is how the nested loop works. So I'm saving it. Now let's print. Okay. So enter the number. I would say 10. See, in iteration 1, it is printing 1 to 10. Iteration 2, it is printing this. Iteration 3, printing this. Iteration 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So maybe this is how the loop work. Clear? Any doubts here? It's a bit difficult to understand, but once you practice it, the while loop, once you understand how the while is working, then you can understand this nested while loop. So let's assume, yeah.
So in real time, we will be using a lot of loops, is it?
It depends, I'm telling you. So completely it depends. So let's suppose you normally don't work on the bash script. The reason why I picked the bash script here is that this will make you familiar with the concepts, like how does the loop work? How does the conditions work? How does operations work? If someone say that you are working in a, you are scanning some Python code and you see there is a if condition, so you should not be shocked what is the if here. So if you know how the if condition works, so we have a if and then a condition. If it becomes true, perform this. If it becomes false, perform this. We can easily relate. Okay, if condition works like this. When you see the loops, so you know what they are actually doing in the loops. It's like make you aware of the concepts. Because when you join the company, so you may pick up Python, you may pick up Bash, you may pick up something else. Or maybe if your manager told you to write a small file, small logic that will look for the file every minute for 1 hour. So it's just a complete English. He said what? Look for a file for 1 hour. If it comes, send me an email. If it not, then send an alert. So this is a logic. So now how you are converting these requirements into a IT solutions. So you know that, so he told me to look for a file for 1 hour every minute. So how can I confirm? So I need to do every minute, I need to verify. So I need to run them in a loop, like 1 to 60 times. So for that, I need to use a while condition. So how can I make sure that to use the while in a proper way? So this will help you understand, okay, while this is first I need to take a variable as a 1, and then we need to use a counter that will increase the iterations. That's good. And then we are verifying. So what verifying? Whether file exists or not. So we know that we need to do the if conditions here. So if it has a minus e parameter to check the file conditions. Yes, I can use that. You use it that. And then now you need to know how I can delay the 1 minute. There is a command called sleep. So sleep will just make you stop the process. If I say sleep 5, it means 5 seconds. It does nothing. It just sleeps for 5 seconds. After that, it starts working. It's like halting your work. So now you know that sleep command works. So I'm going to sleep for 60 seconds if the file doesn't arrive. So I'll do test check after 1 minute. So after 1 minute, again you verify the if condition. If it works, perfect. If not, then again you wait for 1 minute. You do the same way for 60 minutes. The file doesn't come, you send an alert to your manager. If the file comes, you do the processing. So if you know how the while if condition works, then you can easily write the code accordingly. That's the reason why these are required. So this you can do with any language. You can use Java, you can use Python, you can use some other scripting languages. Okay. Any more doubts?
In DevOps, we will write coding.
Yeah, we do.
So for that, we still have Java.
See, if you talk about any IT related work, so one should know one programming language. So what I would recommend is, so being a DevOps engineer, I would highly recommend that you learn the Python. We don't need to write the entire Python code. So as far as we understand how the conditions work, how the loop works, how to read the files, how to manage the conditions, multiple conditions, so that's fine. So what are the basic packages, modules available in the Python? So if you know all those, then you are perfect. Because I didn't know anything about Python when I started the work. I started picking up because first we need to know the base. So we cannot directly jump onto Python if I know how the basic features like these conditions, while loop, if you understand yourself well, then it becomes easy for you to understand the remaining more concepts. Yeah, it's a one scripting language is mandatory. We don't need in depth, but at least we should know the concepts.
Okay.
Because DevOps is all about automation. So if someone say we need to automate, then we should be in a position to automate that. So this is the loops within a loop. So you don't need to worry much because the moment you join the company, they will not ask you to write everything. So you will be having a much more time. Then you will be having good support as well. Okay. So now we have done. So let's do the same in a different way now. So rather than doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'll just I'm not printing anything here. Maybe I just print the new line here, and then I'm going to print not $J, rather I just print the star here. Okay, now let's see what happens. Now I say 10. See, I'm printing now square. So it is like each line, each star 10 times 10 lines. We can also do the same thing with the, now I want to print the square, I mean rectangle, triangle. So like here. So it means in first line, I don't want to print 10. I just want to print 1, second line 2 star, third line 3 star, fourth line 4 stars, fifth line 5 stars, sixth line 6 stars, right? So now I know the logic. So how I can break it? So in the first iteration, I'm printing 10 because I'm using this condition. Now I'm going to break this to $I here. What happening here? So $I is a 1 now, and J is equal to 1. So 1 less than or equal to 1, yes. So print star. Then J becomes 2, the condition breaks. So goes to next iteration. Now I becomes 2, J becomes 1. 1 less than or equal to 2, yes, print. Again 2 less than or equal to 2, yes, print. 2 stars. 3, no. Again go back. Third iteration. So like this, I'm reducing the counts. I saved it. Now let me run it again. I've said 10. It printed now triangle. So this is how the nested loops work. So if you understand how the while is working here, then try to focus on the inner loop as well. So this may look now confusing and a bit scary, but once you understand how the loops are working, then the inner loop is easy. What all we are doing here is this inner loop is getting rotated these many times. That's it. This is what the inner loop is. The inner loop is getting rotated these many times here. So now I want to repeat inner loop 1 time, next 2 times, next 3 times, next 4 times. So this is what this star is. Okay, so don't get scared. So once you practice while, then you will come to know. Okay. So this is the loops, and the same way we can also write the for loop as well. Like in C, you might have seen this for loop. So here we have initialization, and then we have a condition, and then we have a counter. Okay, so let's do one thing. So we will take a break now. It's 10:30. So we will come at after 15 minutes. Okay, we'll take a long break. If you want to have breakfast, probably you can have it. Right? Is it okay? 10:30. So we'll be 10:45.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah, we'll come and meet at 10:45. Thanks, guys. I'll